sweet friends. I hope you are all well. Welcome or welcome back. If you are new, we're going to be creating this very sweet pocket Christmas folio today. And we've got a shortcut that will help us make our pages and our pockets super fast and easy. I've got a beautiful paper pad from Hobby Lobby paired with a printable from my shop. And so this is chock full of festive detail. We have inserts for each of these pockets, and that gives you plenty of room to add your pictures and journaling. There's more room here for some additional flat keepsakes or mementos, and we also have incorporated larger size pages for those bigger pictures. And then of course we do have inserts added here to the top as well, and so that makes it very thick and sturdy and chunky, just how we like it. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we will make it together. For our project today, we're going to be utilizing this Paper Studio Vintage Christmas paper pad. This is a 6x6 size, and I think that's very ideal for smaller projects so that you get a very compact pattern and it just looks a little bit nicer. And so this is single-sided paper. However, it is very thick, and so that does add to the sturdiness of our finished project. And we're also going to be utilizing a envelope here. This is a standard shipping envelope. It would be 6 inches by 9, and because this is white, it's going to work perfectly as a base for our layering. First, I want to start by pulling the adhesive strip, and then just go ahead and seal that up. I'm going to cut a couple of pieces here, and we're going to get pages from this as well as pockets. So first thing I do is line this up to 5 inches, and that is going to be the height of our book. Then I'll turn it so that I keep that sealed edge on the left, and I'll cut now at 2.5. So we're going to get a finished page size that is 5 high by 6 wide, and then a pocket for the front that is 2.5 high. So we're going to be utilizing 3 of these today that are cut for the pocket, and I do want to just quickly go here and add my double-sided tape. I will be utilizing my 2 glue combos throughout just to make sure everything is well adhered. I'm going to set this aside just for a moment. We'll come back to that pocket in a minute, but I also need a way to combine these envelope pages, and so I have some additional pieces cut. These are 65-pound weight cardstock, and there are 4 of them. For 3 of them, I have already added some double-sided tape, and I'll come back in with my Tombow, but the measurement for this is going to be 5 high by 2 1/8 wide. It's scored at 1 and 1 1/8, and so we're building in a little bit of room here to accommodate the layers that we want to add. And so really what I want to do is combine these first, make the spine as one unit, and then we'll add the pages to it. You will all be very happy to know that I did get a new Tombow, so now you won't have to watch me shaking it on camera. So I'm going to fold this right along my first score line so that I can get it lined up well. And then I'll add a little bit of my Tombow here along with my double-sided tape. And then bring these together so that I'm right along that score line, keeping it straight and even along the side and the bottom. See how we're going to be adding depth with every one of these. So I will continue to do that until I have them all adhered. Okay, so now we've built in the amount of space that we need for our layering. I want to put on a cover, and I want my cover to have a nice finished edge where it will be most noticeable, and also provide me with a little bit of extra thickness. And now I'm going to be using 65-pound weight cardstock. It is 5 high by 12 wide and scored at 6. And so I have just added a little piece of my tape here along the edge. More of my Tombow. And then this is going to be the back cover. So I want to add it to this very last one. Remember to fold them over and flatten them out so that you can get it positioned just so. I'm going to sandwich that piece between the layers. Make sure you get everything lined up. And then once that's adhered, fold over all of those additional flaps. So now you can see we have added this right to the back. And then I did already add my double-sided tape to this side. So I'll just peel off the backing. A little bit more of my Tombow. It's a lot more fun when I don't have to shake it vigorously. And then I'm just folding that over, and that's going to capture that flap in between the layers. So now I have 2 layers of thickness here as well as a nice finished edge. So I want to do the same for this side as well. So now we have the front and back added to our spine. Next, we want to add those envelopes. Remember that we have 3 of them. So I'm going to add my double-sided adhesive to the front part of the flap. When you get to the point where you're going to add those envelope pages, you do want to be very careful to make sure that the opening will be at the top, because we're going to utilize these for some additional inserts. So make sure you have these all going in the right direction. And I'm just going to build from the back as I work forward. Remember to have your 2 glues. Doesn't matter which side you put because we're going to be covering this with our cardstock and pattern paper layers. So just make sure to keep it right alongside your score line so that it will fold properly. So you would repeat that process for the remaining 2 flaps. Okay, so now we have the base created. We've got our cover. There are 3 pocket pages inside, and then enough room here for the layering. I'm going to add my pattern paper now, and you will be quite surprised at how quickly this bulks up, because we've got a layer of the cardstock and then also the pattern paper that is very thick. So I'm going to bring back in that pocket. Remember that we cut, and I did realize as I was pulling the tape backing off that I probably could have saved myself some adhesive, because I want to tuck this in first before adding it to the book so that I don't have to worry about trying to get it jammed down in that pocket when it is attached. So my cardstock for these full-size pages is going to be 4 7/8 by 5 7/8, and the pattern paper is 4 3/4 by 5 3/4. And so because I've already added that, I'm just going to stick this in here and we'll pull the backing off. But you would just go ahead and wait so that you can add the tape for the full back at the same time. And this is just going to slip down into that pocket perfectly here. And I'll just pull the tape as best I can. Oh yeah, that's going to come out easily. So you would have waited to put the tape on until you had that tucked in the pocket. Then you can add your tape around the perimeter of that and then glue this down as one unit. But since I did jump the gun, I just pulled that extra backing off of the tape while it was in the pocket. So now I'm just going to got this prepared for adding to the book. and I'll add these to the pocket page. I will line up this corner to this corner because the pocket and the pocket page are going to be the same width. So that will help me to get everything lined up exactly where I want. We have prepared an additional page for this side, but we're not going to have a pocket. I want to make sure that we have some larger pages for bigger pictures and embellishments. If you were working with a collection, you would probably have cut aparts that coordinated and possibly also have a sticker sheet to use for layering details. So that would work really well for that. But we're just going to be using this pattern paper from the paper pad. And I had 2 page layouts. You don't have to do that. If it makes sense to you to use up your scraps, then I would say mix and match. As long as it makes you happy, then that works. We want to cover the front of the pocket here as well. And so I have an additional piece of my cardstock cut to be 2 3/8 high by 5 7/8 wide. The pattern paper is 2 1/4 by 5 3/4. And so I'm just going to pay attention to be adding a kind of geometric to these larger all over patterns so that we can keep it from looking too busy. Not only does this finish our pocket nicely, but it will also add extra sturdiness. So it might be easier to see if I move it. We're going to continue to have border from the base along with that beautiful cardstock. And so of course any theme would work for this, or any holiday. Just switch out the cardstock that you are going to pick to match what you're going to use. So let's just go ahead and continue doing that until we get to the last set of pages. And you'll see that we did cover that side, and that will help to sandwich this flap in and make it extra sturdy. And we're at the last set of pages, and I want to just finish these with the full-size page because we don't have a pocket for this page, so we're just going to treat it as a 2-page layout that has larger pages. And so I will continue to utilize those same measurements in my 2 glue combo. So that's going to be our last 2-page layout with these full-size pages. And what you did not see off camera is that for this page set, I did glue this on upside down. And so I had to send it to the craft hospital and perform some major surgery, but thankfully that paper pad had 3 pieces of this pattern, so I was able to repair it, and I rebuilt it, and it's come back even better. So now I do want to just go ahead and cover the back page of this with a pretty festive plaid. I do love plaid on the outside of the books. And it doesn't matter if you glue it upside down. So here's that last cover. And so now when you're thinking about the thickness, we have 2 for this pattern cardstock, 2 for the cardstock for the base, and 2 for the pattern that's on the inside. So now it's 6 papers wide, and so it's very thick and very sturdy and getting quite chunky, just how we like it. So I did just add a little bit of tape here and then put some trim so we can close this up. I do like to use this delicate stitch satin. Ties a lovely bow. And I think this green matches perfectly. I'm going to open this back up to flatten this out a little. It'll be easier to work on that way. And so you have that same plaid for the front, but I paired another pattern on top just to give it some additional detail. And that's going to go right here on the front. Got a pretty rectangle doily. I'm going to position this pretty far over so that I have room for my other finishing details. The printable that I chose to use this time is the Sweet Christmas 2 from my shop. And so this just has a nice combination of pretty traditional images here with a beautiful foliage background. And so this set would have come with 9 images. And because I have 2, and because I have 3 pockets, I decided to print 8. I'll have 2 for each pocket and 1 for the cover. I did print them in the size that they were designed, so it'll be perfect to add the journaling when you're adding the finishing details for this. And so I just chose Santa, and I put that on the same green cardstock as a border. And then of course I've got some foam tape here to add dimension. And so this is going to be our focal image. Before I finish the rest of the details on the cover, let's just go ahead and add some of these to our pockets. Because this is a light enough green, you could add the journaling directly to the back. I think that would be perfect. Put 2 in each one of these. What did I miss? Now I've got an extra one. 2, 4, 6. Well, let's pick this guy and we'll use him for a card. And we'll put a gingerbread guy in there. Okay, so now we have 6 inserts and 1 focal image. I did create a pretty generous sized arrangement here with some poinsettias that were die cut. And I finished it off with some die cut foliage and loopy twine bows and netting, and then more of that same and more of that beautiful green that we're going to use for our closure. To sort of offset this just to make sure that all of those fragile bits remain inside the border. Got my usual finishing details. Of course, I've got a couple of charms and a button. Let's add those with some hot glue. Before we get to the sequins, I did want to incorporate some more inserts. Remember, we have our pocket pages, and so I did create these additional inserts, and I'm going to start with 110-pound cardstock because I really want this to be very sturdy. And so the first layer is 5.5 by 5. The second layer is the green cardstock. It's 5 3/8 by 4 7/8. And the pattern paper is 5 1/4 by 4 3/4. And the reason I picked this size is because I want it to slide in and out easily here and stick up enough from the top so that it's easy to grab. So I've got 1, 2. Here's our last one. What a great way to add additional room for finishing details. So now that book looks even taller. Let's just go ahead and tie ourselves a little bow here. And then we'll put those sequins on. So one on top and 2 down on the base. That is going to be it for today, and I sure do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Check in the description for links. I'll have that printable here, as well as all of our socials. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.